Okay, very good evening to all of you. At the outset, I convey my gratitude and thanks to Professor Mohendra Ghosh sir for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share my views on present scenario of India-Japan relations. And sir has given an outline of India-Japan relations and when this relationship was started. I will just only share my views regarding the changing dynamics of India-Japan relations in the post-Cold War era. Before going to post-Cold War era, I would like to just start with a background. Japan and India had established their relationship uh, long before India's independence. In the uh, pre-independence era, uh, through Buddhism, Japan and India uh, have been Japan and India have been closer due to Buddhist philosophy. And Rabindranath Tagore visited Japan, and he visited Kobe city, and uh, he was very much straightforward, and that is why he criticized the role of Japan in uh, early 20th century, and he criticized Japan's aggressive role in the global politics. So then the Japanese emperor was not happy with Rabindranath Tagore because he rightly pointed out the Japan's aggression, aggressive acts towards other nations. Later on, Japan and in India have been attached through Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, and he went to Japan for Azad Hind Fauj. And later on, Japan and India relations have been strengthened by Justice Radha Vinod Pal, who was the justice of Tokyo trial, and he gave a verdict in favor of Japan. So Japan government and Japan entire society is grateful to Justice Radha Vinod Pal. And later on so many issues, Japan and India just agreed uh, to do some collaborative ventures. In the post-Cold War era, when India started its journey as an independent country in 1947, then initially India was in dilemma. India was in dilemma that what is to be done, what kinds of relations will be established between New Delhi and Tokyo. In 1949, India gifted an elephant to the Tokyo Zoo of Japan, and it was a friendly gesture towards Japan. Japan was just struggling with its broken down economy and infrastructural weakness, and due to Second World War, Japan was suffering from not only financial crisis, but it was a stigma and it was a trauma to Japanese government for Japanese government and Japanese society. And how to overcome this situation? Thus, Japanese policymakers were thinking about it. And initially, Japan was not interested to establish any uh, 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 stronger relations with India. But in 1952, with the conclusion of peace treaty between India and Japan, the formal bilateral diplomatic relations was started. And since then, both countries are working not only for bilateral interests, but also for the global security, global peace, global prosperity, and human security. And Japan and India agreed to about the globe. And if we talk about the India-Japan democratic relations, then we must say the democratic relations has not been strengthened only for high-level bilateral visits of the prime ministers of Japan, prime ministers of India, and president of India to Japan, or minister of external affairs of both countries. But The thing is that the bilateral relations have been strengthened due to some common area of interest and the perception of Japan and India. After the Hiroshima and Nagasaki incidents, Japan changed its foreign policy orientation, and as well as Japan government changed its defense policy. Instead of spending money on warheads, Japan started to concentrate on development, especially economic development, industrialization, technological advancement, electronics advancement, and advancement in software and advancement in the infrastructure. Yes, Japan has made an exceptional uh, example or instance to the global community that through changing a policy, foreign policy orientation, a country can be developed, a country can be well accepted by the global community. Yes, Japan is the only countries in the world, apart from India, which is not only uh, just executing its foreign policy for its economic development, but it is working to establish global peace. And Japan is the number one country in the world which contributes a huge amount of money to the United Nations Organization for global peace and prosperity every year. And through various projects, through ODA, official developmental aid, through JICA, through Japan Foundation, Japan government is very much active, not only in India, but also in the entire South Asia. The government of Japan, initially, in the initial period in 1950s or 1960s, was not interested at all about South Asia because of the low profile of South Asian states. Because South Asian states were suffering from food crisis, they are suffering from financial crisis, they had no sizable middle class. So for Japanese investment, for Mitsubishi, for Toyota, for Sony, and other companies, India and entire South Asia was not a very important place, a significant place. This is one. Another was due to the distance, long distance between India and Japan, and India and Japan and South Asia. Japanese government initially was not interested to focus on South Asia and India. But gradually, in since in the late 1950s, especially from 1957, Japan government started to just approve yen as a foreign aid to India for some development or some loan. So nowadays, Japan has been the fifth largest trading partner of India. So gradually, diplomatic relations converted into economic relations. So from diplomatic engagement to economic engagement, and then economic engagement to strategic engagement to technological advancement. Made by the uh, leaders of both countries in the post-Cold War era. It was very much difficult. And then just after the collapse of Soviet Union, it was very much difficult for India how to deal with its economy, how to rejuvenate its economy. That is why India was searching such partners who which can invest in India. So India is searching for FDI. So apart from the American investment, Japan has become one of the very significant investing countries in India. So Japanese companies started to invest here. So not only government of India is earning revenue, but some youth, unemployed youth are getting jobs in Japanese companies. And Japan and India have a very fruitful relationship because of their convergence of interest and perception. Because the global peace and democratic values and their commitment to the human security. So that is why the Japan always considers India as a reliable partner because India, whenever India took some loan or assistance from Japan, it properly or timely refunded or timely repaid the loan or assistance. And JICA for a long time is working in India, not only is promoting to the poor people or some social activities. So many NGOs are being funded by JICA. They are working in several underdeveloped sectors of India. Uh, and Japanese government is very much focused not only traditional trade and business. At present, there are almost 1,439 Japanese companies in India, and they are working very well. But thing is that India's market is very much competitive now, and India has a sizable middle class. So Japanese companies are focusing on India's market, and they are just focusing to compete with China and Chinese and American companies. And in 2000 in year 2000, Atal Bihari Vajpayee and the Japanese Prime Minister Moji just met, and they actually strengthened their bilateral relations. In 2005, Japanese Prime Minister visited India, and in 2006, our Prime Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh visited Japan, and later on in 2014, Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, visited Japan, and in 2016, once again he visited Japan, and he significantly concluded a treaty with Japan regarding the uh, uh, our civil nuclear cooperation, and Mitsubishi company agreed to uh, provide some technological supports to Indian civilian nuclear bidders. And now I am coming to the another side of diplomacy. This is not state versus state diplomacy, track one diplomacy. This is track two diplomacy and soft power diplomacy. And track two diplomacy, regarding track two diplomacy, yes, it is very much successful. Apart from governmental initiatives, some private institutes and individuals are working together to foster bilateral relations through cultural diplomacy, through music, through literature, through philosophy, through sports. Both countries are enhancing their relationship. And in this regard, I must say the Indian diaspora is playing very significant role. Indian diaspora is very much there in Japan, although Japan has a very distinctive cultural entity or cultural entity, and the Japanese society is not so open. But Indian diaspora is very much strong in Japan, especially in Tokyo and some parts of Osaka. And Indian diaspora is not available to each and every parts of Japan, very very strong, but they have very good presence. They are not only promoting Indian culture, they are not promoting only Indian yoga, Indian Ayurveda, Indian culture, Indian Gandhian philosophy, the philosophy of Rabindranath Tagore, and the philosophy of other great Indian personalities. The way the Indian diaspora is working in Japan, this is just very good for the Making India project, and successfully they are just communicating to the Japanese industries, the industrialists, Japanese companies, Japanese decision makers. They are actually overcoming miscommunication between the two countries. Whenever I visited Japan and I just returned back on 14th of May, I went to Osaka University and I met some Japanese scholars, Japanese professors to know what is their perception about India. Many of them have a little idea about India. Some professors, they told me they visited once or twice in India. And my host professor who invited me, I asked her, "Have you ever visited India?" She told me that I had no opportunity. I couldn't to visit India, but I am willing to visit India. I heard a lot about India, Indian culture, Indian ethnic diversity, Indian religion, Indian customs, Indian food, and she has some misperception about India. Not wrong perception, but I made it clear that I told her that India is running democracy and India is a diverse country. Culture plurality is there, ethnic diversity is there. Despite having lot of challenges, India is running its democracy successfully, and there are no incidents in India of military coup like other South Asian states or Southeast Asian states. And she was so happy and he would love to come here. And not only that, the students of Japan, they have a very good idea about India. So I just interacted with some graduate students, PhD students, and they had some good idea. They have some good idea about India, and they are very much interested to interact with India and what is the policy of Indian foreign policy towards global peace and harmony. And I asked them, Japan is one of the very significant countries in the world, which is not only theoretically promoting peace, but pacifist movement is very much active and very much successful in Japan. And various Japanese universities are offering peace studies there. So Gandhian, they are very much interested about Gandhiji, Gandhian philosophy, and they asked me that we know about the Gandhian philosophy and non-violence, how Gandhi is relevant in India. So I just made it clear that Gandhi is not only relevant in India but throughout the globe. So in this way, the soft diplomacy, the Japanese perception of peace, Japanese culture, Japanese food, Japanese music, and Indian culture, Indian music, and Indian sports can all together can enhance the soft power diplomacy. And there I was delighted to just know that many of them don't know about much more India, but they know Shah Rukh Khan, they know Amir Khan, they know Salman Khan and other film artists, Amitabh Bachchan. So they have a very keen interest about Indian culture, Indian film. So this is not necessary that all of the people will be interested on hard diplomacy. Some of them will be interested on the soft diplomacy. As part of it, just 1 month back, just I completed a project funded by Sumitomo Foundation Japan. It is on Japanese culinary business in South Asia. How Japanese cuisine is just spreading in South Asian region, and how Japanese food has been popularized in South Asia, or is there any challenges or not? So I think food is not only food; it is a reflection of the position of culture. So Indian food, whenever I just visited some Indian restaurants nearby Osaka University. So I must share one of my experience. Just I have visited almost three Indian restaurants, which is name is Indian restaurant. Some restaurant name is Bina or other thing, or Mumbai restaurant. But most of the restaurants are run by Nepalese people. So whenever I went to South Korea also in 2017, opposite of Korea University in Seoul, that was a restaurant, Indian restaurant. But that restaurant was also owned by a Nepali. I asked them why. This is a cultural affair, because they made it clear that everyone in Japan or other Southeast Asian nations or East Asian nations, and they know South Asia through the lens of India. So they know India. That is why that was identity crisis. And many of them have no idea about Nepal, about Bangladesh. So they actually named this restaurant Indian restaurant to get more and more customers, Japanese customers. And I went there. I saw out of 100 customers, 95 customers are Japanese students, Japanese professors, or common people. So through food, we can reach to Japan, and through food, Japan can reach to India. Yes, I have visited some Japanese restaurants in Kolkata, in Delhi, during my research project in Chennai, Mumbai, Kolkata. I saw in comparison with Chinese restaurants, the number of Japanese restaurant is very much less. If that is in a big city, that is almost in Kolkata, more than 100 Chinese restaurants or 200. Whereas the authentic Japanese restaurant is hardly will be 4 or 5. So Japanese, I met Japanese ambassador to Delhi. I met Japanese consular general to Chennai, Japanese consular general to Kolkata, and so many just workshops done on Indo-Japan relations or some soft diplomacy. I came to know that Japan has keen interest to establish and focus more and more cultural diplomacy and soft diplomacy with India. And now I am coming to the connectivity issue. Connectivity is one of the very key issue between the two countries. Connectivity means road connectivity, maritime connectivity, air connectivity. Yes, from Delhi only there is direct flight. Japan Airlines operates flight from Delhi to Tokyo or Osaka, and ANA, all Nippon Airlines or Air India has a flight from Delhi to Tokyo. But From rest of the cities, maybe from Mumbai, some flights. From Kolkata and Chennai, there is no such flights. So more connectivities are essential, and the flight fare is so high. So if we want to enhance people-to-people contact for tourism, for education, for cultural purpose, so uh, flight fares should be moderate. For example, Air Asia operates flight from Kolkata to Kuala Lumpur, very cheap airlines. Kolkata to Thailand, but Chennai to Thailand, Chennai to Kuala Lumpur, Air Asia, very cheap. So Japan and India, both government can think about it without enhancing people to people contact, without enhancing the visit of the pilgrims or cultural teams. The people to people contact cannot be enhanced, and misperception between the two countries cannot be overcome or removed. So in this connection, I would like to add one more point that is very effective. That is, we sometimes we can't connect Japan directly for our freight corridor, for using freight corridor, but we connect Bangladesh. So Japan established a port near Matarbari in Matarbari of Bangladesh. It is the southeastern part of Bangladesh near Coxbazar. It is a deep sea port. So to enhance India's and to implement India's active policy and India's policy towards Japan to enhance the India's bilateral relations with ASEAN countries and Japan and Korea, the Matarbari port can be very significant, and especially for Japan. So through Matarbari port, goods and services can be reached to Bangladesh from Bangladesh to India through Panchagor district of Bangladesh and Siliguri corridor. And from Siliguri corridor, right side there is Bhutan and the left side there is Nepal. So Japan can access Bangladesh and Indian territory, and they can reach to Bhutan and Nepal because Bhutan and Nepal are landlocked country. So for the sake of the interest of Japan business and for the sake of the development of Bhutan and Nepal, this Matarbari port is important. Moreover, this Matarbari port, which is established by Japan, that is very much essential for the development of our Northeast India. Then Northeast India has seven sisters. I mean, Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura, Assam, and these states are very much and very much important in terms of security, in terms of Indian national integrity, because there are some secessionist movements which are going on in the from since post Cold War era, post independence era, and still this is unresolved. So main cause of this unrest or secessionist movement is unemployability and underdevelopment or lopsided development. So the regional secessionist movements can be stopped through development. So Japanese projects already started, small projects, ecotourism, some green energy, and some food plants and some small industries already established by the Japan government in Northeast India. In near future, if the it is Northeast India started Matarbari port, so more trade and investment will come, and more goods and services will be free flow through free flow of goods and services. Some developmental activities can be ensured in Northeast India. So through this connectivity, Japan and India can enhance their future relationship. One more thing I must say that two important projects Japan already cultivated. That is, one is just Delhi Mumbai corridor projects. Another is Western uh, just dedicated freight corridor. And apart from this, Japan is now focusing on more and more investment in India. And another thing is important in this regard, that is Japanese knowledge economy, concept of knowledge economy. So as we follow Foucault, then we will see that knowledge is power, power is knowledge. So through knowledge, uh, revenue can be generated through some intellectual activities, some inventions can be ensured, and that can generate revenue. And nowadays, Japan and India have planned to establish some satellite cities, which will be based on knowledge cities. Suppose some schools will be established, some colleges, universities, medical colleges, some engineering colleges and farms, some IT sectors, some other scientific institutions will be established in a city, and all of the students will study there, and they will after that they will produce something, and that will not be beneficial for India but also for Japan. So in the field of knowledge economy, in the field of science and technology, both countries are working. Both countries are working in the field of remote sensing, marine science, in nuclear science, in IT sector, software, and both countries are focusing on some aeronautics, engineering, material, and other things. But the Japan's vision is very much clear. Japan's argument is very much clear regarding nuclear power. When India tested nuclear weapons for the second time in Pokhran, at Pokhran of Rajasthan in May 1998, then Japan sharply reacted because Japan is very much committed to stop nuclear weapons. So, as a principle of Japan's foreign policy, Japan criticized India, and Japan was very much critical about India when India didn't sign on CTBT in 1996. Despite having some differences of opinion, both countries successfully mitigated these problems and will have been able to overcome this problem. But both countries are now moving for greater South Asia because, as we as we know, the current financial scenario of Sri Lanka in year 2022, Sri Lanka had gone through acute financial crisis, and that financial crisis was really unprecedented. And the entire world was surprised to see the food crisis of Sri Lanka, baby food crisis of Sri Lanka, and there was a long queue outside of the petrol pumps for petroleum products. And Sri Lanka is in debt trap due to taking huge amount of loan from China, and that amount of loan is basically hard conditional loan. And despite having tremendous financial crisis, the Chinese government continuously pressurized Sri Lankan government to repay the money. And Sri Lankan government also took money from Japan, also from India, also through line of credit, and from Sri Lanka, from Japan. Yeah, Sri Lankan government took loans from ODA, Official Developmental Assistance. But where the approach of Japan and India was totally different than China, we must say, the Japan had made it clear or ensured Sri Lankan government that please take your time to repay money. That just you try to rejuvenate your economy, just rebuild your economy. Please take your time. Indian government also assured Sri Lanka government, please take your time, and whenever your economy will be strengthened, then you will repay my money. So that is a perceptional differences between China, India, and Japan. So there are some convergence of interest between Japan and India. They are both countries are committed to foster the human security to ensure the human rights in South Asia and across the globe. Both countries are working together to ensure human rights and human security in African continent, in many parts of Asia, especially in Afghanistan, in Sri Lanka also. And so the relationship between Tokyo and New Delhi is not only based on some economic or diplomatic relations. It is based on their commitment on peace and prosperity and their common goal to establish global peace. And recently, we've seen that India just concluded a treaty with Iran to manage Samarkand for another next 10 years. So when Samarkand was built up, then Japan was very much supportive to India. Japan not only diplomatically supported to India, also financially supported to India. But that is a common interest. That is in the convergence of common interests. Because Japan can reach uh, Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, uh, this region, and Kyrgyzstan, this region. This is landlocked region. So, if Japan and India can reach to Iran, then through Iran, easily Japan and India can reach to Central Asia. So, that is a common interest of Japan on Samarkand. This is another thing. Another thing is very much important in this regard that Japan and India have a common interest in Indo-Pacific region. This is the strategic aspect of relationship. So we have very strengthened strategic relationship due to the common enemy of China. In South Asia, due to the uh, growing just presence of China, both India and Japan are very much annoyed and very much just tensed to how to tackle China in this region. So to tackle China and to stop and to reduce the influence of China in Sri Lanka, in Pakistan, and other South Asian states, both countries are working together strategically. Both countries are concerned about the security of entire Indo-Pacific region, especially ASEAN region, because in ASEAN region, Chinese presence is very much stronger than India. India is there. India's investment is there. GMR Group of India is building some, establishing some airports and other constructions in Southeast Asian nations, especially in Philippines, in Indonesia, and other countries. Indian companies are investing there. Indian goods are there. India has a very good relations with Malaysia also. But thing is that Indian warships and Indian merchant ships are not secure due to the Chinese presence. And the growing Chinese presence just asserted a new party to Indian security. So that is a common interest due to the North Korea also. So North Korea is a common threat to both to Japan, both to India, both to and it is also equally to United States of America and Australia. So there is a convergence of interest that is the strategic partnership in terms of strategic partnership. That is why in year 2017, India, Japan, Australia, and the United States of India formed a non-military strategic platform that is Quad. It is working, that is no doubt. And another aspect is very much important: the growing presence of Russian naval forces in Indo-Pacific region. Russia, China, and North Korea are just trying to just pose some challenges to Japan. So Japan is searching some partners in Indo-Pacific region. On the issue of Senkaku Island, who is the ownership of the Senkaku Island? It is actually ownerless island in the South China Sea. So Japan is claiming its own island, and China is claiming this Senkaku Island is the Japanese Chinese island. So over this issue, India is very much just aware and concerned. So to prevent the growing challenge of China, both India and Japan are working together. And regarding the uh, regarding the relationship of sports diplomacy, and regarding the development of the both countries, just soft diplomacy, as I have mentioned. I must add one more thing, because Japan Foundation is now very active, because Japan Foundation is offering some new fellowships for the Quad countries. Japan Foundation just from last year is offering some special fellowships to the Indian scholars who are working on Indo-Pacific. As because Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, former Prime Minister of Japan, who was assassinated, and he played a very key role in enhancing bilateral relations between India and Japan, and he focused on five free and open Indo-Pacific policy. And he introduced this policy in year 2016. And after the new FOI policy also introduced by Japan. And another thing is important. This is the free and open Indo-Pacific. And Japanese ships are moving on the Indo-Pacific through Indian Ocean, through Pacific region. So due to the Somalian sea pirates, to the Chinese naval presence, so these ships are facing some problems. So Japan is searching new partner. That is why, in order to enhance its more and more strategic relations with India, some strategic related fellowships are being offered by Japan Foundation. Not only that, each and every year Japan Embassy is offering some fellowships for Indian students at PG level, postgraduate level, PhD level, postdoctoral level. And Japanese Foundation is very much active to promote Japanese culture, and they are inviting Indian intellectuals. So on the other hand, Indian embassy in Tokyo, and Indian Consular General, High Commissioner in Osaka and big cities are there also projecting Indian culture. So through culture, through enhance people-to-people contact, both countries are very much concerned. Japan realized that we have invested a lot in India, but our products are being used by Indian people for Sony TV, for cars, Honda, Mitsubishi, and other things. But at the same time, a less number of Indian people is concerned about Japan's position, Japan's culture, Japan's economic policy, Japan's food. So they are trying to enhance people-to-people contact. And one more thing I must say that is very important. That is nowadays, just Japan government is trying to just uh, establish very good relations, close relations with Bangladesh. This morning, I just interviewed by Dhaka University scholar. He's a scholar of Department of Japanese Studies, Dhaka University. He interviewed me, and he just the theme of the interview was that just Bangladesh is recently concluded a strategic treaty with Japan. So he asked me what will be the impact of Bangladesh Japan strategic treaty on India. So I made it clear that yes, it will be very effective and very positive because we have very good relations with Japan and we have good relations with Bangladesh. And on the other hand, India will be happy because Bangladesh is trying to establish relationship with Japan crossing or bypassing China because in earlier we have seen how Bangladesh just purchased military equipment and warships and submarines and modern just mass destructive arms from China. It was very much alarming to India. So if Bangladesh establishes good relations with Japan, then it will be helpful for India because we have some common interests. So Bangladesh is also our friend country. So now government of Japan and government of India is not only focusing on bilateral relations but also regional equation of South Asia. So to counter China, both country will shake hands and both country will work together. And so many think tanks are now working on the India-Japan relations. I am attached with another Japanese think tank as a senior research fellow. That is Pan Asia Research Institute. Pari. It is head office in Tokyo and another office in Dhaka. So I am working on it. It's what I have seen that the Japanese government is now focusing to establish Japanese think tank in South Asia. Chinese think tank in South Asia is very much available. You will see a numerous Chinese funded think tank in Pakistan, in Nepal, in Bangladesh, in India also, in Bhutan also. So that is why the establishment of think tank is much more important to implement policy and to formulate new policy. So I think in near future, through ambassadorial procedure, through think tanks procedure, and through people-to-people contact, Japan and India will be able to enhance strengthen relations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nandy, for a very comprehensive and elaborate discourse on India-China relations. We have covered almost all aspects of relationship. Also, regional connectivity, regional interest. Both countries cooperate with each other on international issues. They have a very common, stand, and they are all for peace and prosperity. And I can say you spoke about Japan Foundation's fellowships and to Indian students. I am reminded of I think having met Professor Michimi, who is from there, Japan, well-known expert on international affairs. And he told me that Japan wants Indian students to come to Japan, and Japan will pay for everything. They should learn. They should live in Japan, and they should learn Japanese, and they should know about in the Japanese culture. So I just jokingly said that you want them to be employed in Japanese companies in India and from all parts of the world, but they have this mission. They want Indian students to go there and to study Japanese. So that is a very good opportunity for Indian students. I think we should make use of it. So now of course, we have covered every aspect of the problem, the topic. I think there is nothing left for questions. But if there are any, I will ask the students if they have any questions on the subject, they can put it. And but the questions should be simple, brief, because Dr. Nandi has been there for a very long time with us, and we will not detain him for a long time. So yes, please, if there are any questions, come on. Kaveri, are you there?
Yes, sir. I want to ask a question.
Yeah. Switch off your put on your video so that you can talk to him directly.
Okay.
Yeah. Introduce yourself.
Sure, sir. My name is Kaveri Jain and I'm a PhD scholar working on India-Japan relations. So my research basically focuses on the role of late Prime Minister Mr. Shinzo Abe. What was his role in contributing to various aspects of India-Japan bilateral relations? So thank you so much, sir, for your insightful and experience-laden lecture. I got a lot of information and I've made my notes. So my question to you is, we know that there are many complementarities between the Japanese and the Indian economy. But whenever I read about India-Japan economic relations, I do come across this point that there is a lot of potential which has not been yet realized. So what are the major obstacles between India-Japan economic relations in the context of economic relations? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kaveri, for your excellent question. Yes, in response to your question, I must say there are at least now only 1,439 companies are working in India. So the number can be increased because it is in comparison with Bangladesh, it is less. So more Japanese companies are in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is much more smaller than us. So